Welcome. My name is Megan Mitchell, and I am here today to present on a topic that is so exciting to me: powerful homeschool partnerships involving and empowering parents to drive student success. I will give you some tools, some tips, and some tricks that you can use when working not only with students, but of course, their parents or important people in their life. Because we know that when working in schools with students, it's very important that we involve and empower parents so that they can also be advocates in their children's success. A little bit about me. I have been working with children in schools for quite some time. I have been a clinical social worker since 2015. I worked in a variety of different settings, and I currently continue my work as in private practice as a child therapist. I'm originally from Michigan, but I have called DC home for quite some time now. I currently am a DSW student at SUNY Buffalo, and my interests that I'm focusing on in my work include technology, how we can incorporate technology into social work, how we can incorporate technology with our clients and into our practices, burnout prevention specifically for social workers and other helping professionals, and then also play therapy. I am passionate about treating neurodivergent children and their family systems, and that's been an area that I have been focusing in on for probably the past 3 to 5 years. I actually went back to school to get my master's in special education because I saw that there was a big gap of needing to service neurodivergent children. So that's a little bit about me. And all this is to say that this is going to guide some of my experiences as we partner together and work through some of this content in our webinar today. So here is our quick agenda. We are going to cover a variety of different topics. Part one, I'm going to give you an introduction and go over the learning objectives, some points that you will be able to take away from the webinar today. Part two, powerful partnerships. What do they look like? Knowing that everyone's experience is going to be different, your settings look different, and every client that you interact with is going to be different. Part three, creating partnerships, strategies, tools, and barriers. So this is where I will give you some really concrete examples so that, like I said, you can build that toolbox so that when you leave today, you will have some new strategies that you can utilize with parents. Part four will be IEP and BIPs. So this would be if you are working with special education students in the school system, how you can involve parents in this and how this can guide your work. Part five, NASW school standards, how we can connect our practice today to the standards set out by the NASW. Part six will be wrapping it up, putting it all together. Because this is a recorded webinar, if you have any Q&A, I will leave my contact information, and I'd be more than happy to follow up with you should you have any questions. Here are our learning objectives for today. After completing this workshop, participants will be able to: one, identify the importance and relevance of homeschool involvement in ensuring the success of students in schools. Number two, describe what parent involvement looks like in both creating IEP goals and behavior intervention plans. Number three, identify the barriers and challenges that exist in creating parent partnerships and working towards common goals. Number four, reflect on and examine personal practices to create an action plan that will lead to successful parent partnerships in a variety of school settings. And lastly, number five, connect their work with parents to the NASW standards for school social work services. So we are going to cover a lot today, but like I said, I really want you to be able to leave with some skills and build your toolbox so that you're leaving with some action steps and some ideas of how you can implement some of these strategies in your work with parents. So we're going to do a pulse check. So just think, on a scale from 1 to 5, how confident do you feel in working in partnership with parents? 1 might be that this is new to you. This is new to me. I do not feel confident yet. And I very much believe in the power of yet because we all have to have a starting point. Number two, I don't often feel confident. I need tools to help build my confidence. And I will say this work, I've been doing it for a long time and I'm still learning so much. Every case is different and every case has different things that we need to think about. And I still reach out for supervision and consult when needed because there can be some really tricky cases. Number three, you're somewhat confident. So that would be kind of in the middle. Number four, I'm feeling good. I'm confident about working with parents. And number five, I got this. I am a parent partnership rock star. So just think about where you are on this scale. There's obviously no right or wrong answer, but hopefully, no matter where you are, if you are new to this work or you've been doing it for quite some time, you'll be able to either refresh yourself on some of these tools or you'll be able to learn some new things that you might not have considered. Okay, a little bit about my journey with parent partnerships. And here we have a little shout out to Schitt's Creek, which is one of my favorite shows. I started working in schools in 2009, so about 14 years ago. And this was just by chance. I, as a work study job, worked at a child development center at the University of Michigan, where I got my undergrad and my graduate degrees. I was 19 years old, and like I said, it was a work study job. I had never worked with children before, I had never worked with parents before. And at the time, I really had no idea what I was doing, but this is where my passion for working in schools and working with parents and children really flourished. So I started to really love the work, and this actually guided me into my MSW journey and my MSW program. When I was in my MSW program, my internship was in a rural area of Michigan, and I was working in both the Head Start program and early Head Start program. So anywhere from infant to age 5. So I had a really diverse experience there, and I got to work in the schools with the Head Start program, and then in a home visiting program with the early Head Start program. After I graduated with my MSW, I moved to DC, worked in a variety of different schools, charter, public. All of those schools were Title One. And like I said, this has kind of in the past couple of years, I became very passionate about working with diverse learners. So I received my master's in special ed in 2020. And why I did that was kind of just because I felt that I was missing a lot of the skills that were needed to work with diverse learners and learners that might have special education needs. I worked in Chicago for a couple years as an early childhood learning specialist at an independent school. Currently live back in DC, working in the schools and as well as working in private practice as a child therapist. So like I said, I've worked with a lot of different age groups. I've worked in a lot of different areas, rural, suburban, urban, and that has kind of led me to want to share this knowledge with others because I will say that a lot of times building these parent partnerships can be some of the best work that you will do. And I really, really enjoy it. So I've done a lot of work with parents. What have I learned? This is not easy work. Like I said, I still seek out supervision. I still need to consult with my colleagues because this work is not easy. It can be very complicated. There can be barriers. There can be a variety of different challenges that you will face. And that is because I think this work is so important because parents are trusting us to take care of their children day in and day out. When they send their children to school, the school is the system that parents are placing trust in. And that's really a big thing. So I do not take that lightly. I tell parents, thank you for trusting us to take care of your children because it is a very big job to fill. Sometimes we have to deliver tough news. And if you are someone that it struggles with conflict and having these hard conversations, definitely a skill that I am even still to this day working on because you have to sometimes have hard conversations with parents, and that can be very emotional, right? Especially if it is something that may catch them off guard or they were not expecting to hear. Another thing that I really want to point out here is we're not perfect. right? Even if you've been doing this for 2 months or you've been doing this for 30 years, we're not perfect. There'll be things and conversations we wish would have gone differently. So give yourself grace, understand that we are human beings and we are just trying to do our best with imperfect situations. Okay. So, what are parent partnerships? I want you to be thinking about this throughout our training today. What are they? This is the textbook answer of what parent partnerships are. Family, school, community partnerships are a shared responsibility and reciprocal process whereby schools and other community agencies and organizations engage families in meaningful and culturally appropriate ways, and families take initiative to actively support their children's development and learning. Go ahead, read this, pull out what you think is the most important here. Some things that pop up to me is reciprocal process, right? You can't really be in a partnership if it's a one-way partnership. It needs to be reciprocal. It needs to be meaningful, and it needs to be meaningful in a way that is applicable to that family. What is meaningful for one parent will not be applicable or meaningful for another. And culturally appropriate, we will definitely talk about that, but that is going to be a huge factor that you want to consider. And this is my answer of what a parent partnership is. Parents or other important people who have a common shared interest in supporting the needs of a student inside and outside of school. And I don't just want to include parents because I've had many situations where it might be a guardian, it could be an aunt, it could be a grandmother, it could be sometimes it's parents and extended family. I've had some meetings where maybe 5 important people are showing up to that meeting. So I don't like to specifically just say parents. The practical answer, it's somewhere between that textbook answer and my answer. It depends. Each family is different, each student is different, and each partnership will look and feel different. Some might look more engaged, right? Maybe the parent has the opportunity to actually physically come into the school. Others might be able to connect with you virtually, or that at home they're practicing a lot of the things that you are also implementing at school. There's no right way for a parent to engage in a parent partnership. It all depends on their circumstances, what works best for them, and what works best for their family. What does the research say about academic achievement and parent involvement? The biggest predictor of academic achievement is the extent to which families encourage learning at home and involve themselves in their child's education. And I have a few citations here, but there's over 50 research studies that support this claim. There's not just one. There is just so much overwhelming evidence to support this, which is why this work is so important. We need to find ways to partner with parents because that is going to be crucial to a student's success. So it's not that they have access to great enrichment activities. It's not that they have teachers with high certifications and significant education around certain things. The biggest predictor is really, are the families involved in their child's education, and do they encourage learning at home? And that can look so many different ways. So this is really, really important. We want our students to succeed, and so we want to partner with parents. What else does the research say? Students who have parents or family members who are actively involved in their schooling will show the following things: higher grades, higher test scores, greater social skills, better reported behavior, easier adaptation to school, and a greater likelihood of continuing into postgraduate education. So it is so crucial that we form this bond as early as possible. So I'm a huge proponent of early intervention. I love early intervention. The earlier we can get families and children excited about school and build those partnerships, the better. Because, like I said, we have tons of research that shows that parent involvement goes a long way. Building your toolbox. Like I have said a few times throughout our training so far, I want you to walk away with some tools that you will be able to utilize in your practice. Even if you might not be directly working in schools, maybe you work with children. If you work with children, it is inevitable that you will work with our parents. So I want you to take a few moments here to do a self-reflection. So maybe you want to jot this down, take some notes. Self-reflection here. What's already in your toolbox? So what are some things that you feel like are some tools that you could utilize to work with parents? What tools do you need to refine? Is there an area that you haven't explored in quite some time, or you're feeling like you would like to dive a little bit deeper into that skill? What tools do I need to add? Is there any specific area that you are feeling like you'd like to take more training or learn more about? Any tools I can part ways with? I always like to include this one because if you've been practicing for some time, there might be some things that have worked and they don't work anymore, especially now with the COVID-19 pandemic. We have had to pivot in a lot of ways. So, some things that I would have done prior, I no longer do. For example, I do a lot of parent meetings virtually now, right? So, requiring that parents come into the school building, that is not a tool that I use as much anymore because we want to make things as accessible for parents as well. Just like any skill set, it takes time to build up your toolbox. So always be thinking about what tools do you have, what tools do you need, what do you want to add, and what can you part way with. Okay. We're going to talk about some communication strategies and ways that you can deepen your relationships with parents.
Have you enjoyed this continuing education content so far? Agents of Change offers unlimited continuing education courses and continuing education credits for one affordable annual subscription. We add new courses each and every month, created by our team of experts, including compelling topics like unpacking perfectionism, risk and safety assessments, trauma and loss, and more. All Agents of Change content is presented through high quality visuals, engaging video, and also includes downloadable audio for on the go listening. Learn more and get your first CEUs for free at agentsofchangetraining.com.